Michael Burry, the mother of all crashes, is here. Michael Burry's history of identifying bubbles and making millions of dollars in the process far predates that, and he's kept on going since then as well. In the wake of the COVID pandemic, and after a bleeding 2020 with stocks losing value week after week and month after month, Burry once again put his skeptical hat on and shortened the markets. Burry is telling us that the passive investing bubble has already popped. We just don't know it yet. Today, we're going to establish exactly what he's claiming, why he's making these claims, and what it all means. Passive investing. For those who don't know, passive investing is the opposite of active investing. Instead of actively picking stocks, trawling through financial statements and future growth reports, and trying to figure out which companies will do well in the future, you simply put your money into stocks. The difference between now and the year 2000 is the passive investing bubble that inflated steadily over the last decade. All theaters are overcrowded, and the only way anyone can get out is by trampling each other, and the door is only so big. Too many people have just sat around following the age-old investing advice of chucking a few $100s into the S&P's 500 each month, and these people are all unaware of the problems this has caused. At some point, the routes will starve for passengers. Burry provided a summary of the article by stating that if an increase of $5 in market value results from the addition of $1 to stocks, and if 90% of millennials who are also known as the future owners of wealth are currently invested in passive market vehicles, then the ratio of 5 to 1 will become much sillier over time because COVID didn't stop it, and inflation may or may not. To acknowledge that a ratio of 5 to 1 is not a natural ratio, but rather the product of a paradigm. The next stage is to determine what will constitute the next iteration of this paradigm. What may cause it to turn around is the fact that we are currently at 5 to 1. The odds might either improve to 100 to 1 or worsen to negative 5 to 1. Nevertheless, parabolas do not resolve sideways. What Burry has been talking about, and what the scholarly piece he is linked to confirms, is that the nature of level average margin and other forms of debt means that when you put $1 into an index fund, the index fund gains in value by $5, and therefore a bubble is born. Burry detected this in September of 2021, which was 3 months prior to the beginning of the bear market in 2022, and we were able to see the top. Nevertheless, not even Burry himself knew exactly where this would go. The ratio of 5 to 1 is not a natural ratio. Rather, it is the product of a paradigm, and that paradigm consists of the Federal Reserve, fractional reserve banking, fiat currency, and debt creation. However, we are currently experiencing a transition in our monetary environment, as evidenced by rising interest rates and the replacement of quantitative easing with quantitative tightening. It is possible that this paradigm shift and that the inflation following the COVID pandemic is what finally breaks this crooked system. As Burry just said, parabolas don't resolve sideways. This will either melt up or it will melt down. Of course, there are other indicators you can look to in order to try and identify a bubble from index funds, as well as the most notable one being the Buffett indicator, named after none other than Warren Buffett himself. It is a basic principle, but there are exceptions to every rule. There are some people that say that it is the total value of all US stocks compared to the country's GDP, while others say it's the difference in value between the S&P 500 or the Wilshire 5000 and the US economy. However, the one thing that everyone can agree on is that it measures the valuation of American stocks compared to economic activity, and that indicator was screaming at us by the end of 2021. When stocks are expensive or in a bubble, the indicator rises. Historically, this has been true, and Burry has also put out some tweets that aren't very cryptic, in which he bemoans the lack of sensible active investors in today's market. I get the sense that in 2002, there were more value hedge funds than there are value investors in today's market. From his perspective, value investors are essential for a properly operating market because they actually determine what prices assets should trade at. A lack of investors means a lack of pricing pressure in the right direction. If you've been paying attention to the markets, you've probably noticed how poorly stocks are performing this year, and you might be thinking about diversifying your portfolio. Or maybe you just want to hedge against inflation. Well, if that's the case, then you need to hear about passive investing. Burry is certain that the pain isn't over, and that there is more to come, and that passive investing will play a major part in the history books. Passive investing bubble examined. There are a lot of people who listen to these claims, and they don't really understand how there could even be an index fund bubble. From their point of view, index funds are supposed to ensure that there aren't any bubbles. You just invest your money into the market as a whole. So no single company like Pets.com gets extra attention. There's no euphoria or emotion involved in investing through index funds. Therefore, the market should function appropriately and price assets reasonably. Unfortunately, this is not the case. Tesla, over the past few years, is a great example because of the size to which that stock has grown. It is not a secret that many people believe Tesla has been in a bubble. And one of those sounding the alarm has actually been Michael Burry over the recent years at its peak. That meant that when someone went to invest in the S&P 500, they were putting 3% of their money into Tesla whether they knew it or not. This increased buying pressure for Tesla, which will have caused its price to rise even further because this is being done through the stock market. Tesla was worth approximately $1.3 trillion and was one of the most valuable publicly traded companies in the world. It made up about 3% of the entire market cap of the S&P 500. Apple was worth just under $3 trillion and accounted for more than 7% of the S&P 500. As a result, it was seeing massive inflows from investors who weren't paying attention to its price. These companies were getting bigger solely because they were already big. Similarly, they were getting more investors solely because they already had investors. There was no element of price discovery from the billions of dollars flooding into these companies via index funds and other investment vehicles. Some say Burry is a one-hit wonder and doesn't actually know what he's talking about, while others say he's predicted more crashes than he's ever seen. However, the majority of people are simply cautious and concerned because the economic environment is currently deteriorating and will only worsen. Perhaps the bubble has already popped and we are just not aware of it. What do you think of our video? Please let us know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear from me again, please subscribe and turn on the notification before leaving. Thanks for watching.